Hello friends, welcome to Analytics IS and welcome to our sociology classes where we have been discussing some important topics, some important concepts related to sociology optional dear friends. My name is Pankaj Shukla and I am your chief mentor at Analytics IS. In these series of lectures, what we have been trying to do dear, करने की कोशिश क्या कर रहे हैं? We are trying to develop a good understanding on some important sociological concepts. And today, in those series of lectures, today we are going to discuss about one very important concept, dear friend. There is idea of sociological imagination. What exactly is sociological imagination? And how it helps you as a student of sociology, as a social researcher, or as a sociologist, that we are going to discuss in today's lecture, dear friend. So, in a very simple language, we shall try to understand that what exactly is this sociological imagination. कोशिश करूंगा कि ये लेक्चर आपको समझ में आए डियर फ्रेंड बट बिफोर स्टार्टिंग दिस लेक्चर देयर इज वन स्मॉल रिक्वेस्ट that please subscribe our this channel Center for Sociology where we have been trying to cover almost all aspect of sociology related concepts to your UPSC mains optional dear friend. तो आज जानने की कोशिश करते हैं कि what exactly is sociological imagination. तो देखिए as the word itself says that sociological imagination is an imagination that is being carried by a sociologist or a social researcher or a student of sociology. It helps you to understand society or social reality or social problem in a sociological manner, dear friend. अब आप पूछेंगे कि ये क्या है? तो देखिए सोशियोलॉजिकल इमेजिनेशन एक नजरिया है. It is a viewpoint. It is a perspective to look at this social world in which you are trying to understand the relationship between you and society. That many things that you see around you, whether they are your personal issues, whether they are your personal problems, or there are some social structure, there are some social forces, there are some social causes. So, in simple words, sociological imagination helps you to understand how you are being placed in a social context, how you are being placed in a social structure, how you are being placed in a social milieu, and most importantly, the social structure in which you are placed or society in which you have been living. This society was not always like that, dear friend. The society that you see today, this society is the result of lots of historical events. It means there's a close relationship between you, this society, and history. That is the simplest thing about sociological imagination. इसे समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. ये सब कहने के बाद that what exactly is sociological imagination, dear friend. So here you may see on this screen that sociological imagination is important, dear friend. Sociological imagination is important to understand sociologically, to understand sociologically, to think sociologically, or to develop a sociological perspective. What kind of the perspective? What kind of the sociological understanding? Everything we are going to discuss in a very systematic manner. But before that, dear friend, one thing that I want to discuss with you, that this idea of sociological imagination, this entire concept of sociological imagination was given by this particular person, C. Wright Mills. C. Wright Mills, a prominent American sociologist, in 1959, in his book, Sociological Imagination, he talked about this concept. And what he says, try to understand. C. Wright Mills is saying that sociological imagination is an ability of a researcher or a sociologist or a student of sociology to look for structural issues, behind your personal problem, behind your personal life, dear friend. So, as an individual, each one of us, as an individual, each one of us are getting affected by various social forces simultaneously. And there is a close relationship between you as an individual and the social context or society in which you have been living. So here C. Wright Mills is saying in a very simple manner that sociological imagination is an ability of a researcher to look into structural causes or structural issues behind your personal trouble. मतलब as a sociologist, you should not look at individual. You should look at larger social context, larger social milieu. That is the idea of sociological imagination. So there is a close relationship, dear friend. There is a close relationship between individual and society. And as a sociologist, you should try to interpret, you should try to understand that relationship between what? Individual and society. कैसे? देखिए, C. Wright Mills is saying, देखिए, what you do, the kind of the dress you wear, the kind of the music you listen, the kind of the profession you want to go into, the preparation for civil services that you have been doing, क्या ये आपकी personal choice है? Whether it is your own choice, whether it is your own preference, or behind all these things, dear friend, like marriage, divorce, suicide, college that you are going to attend, music that you like to listen, or the dress that you have been wearing, क्या ये सब आपके पर्सनल चॉइस है या बिहाइंड दीज देर आर सम सोशल फोर्स, देर इज सम सोशल कॉन्टेक्स्ट, देयर इज अ सोशल स्ट्रक्चर दैट इज इन्फ्लुएंसिंग दीज पर्सनल चॉइसेस. देखिए, ये हम जानने की कोशिश करेंगे. तो सोशियोलॉजिकल इमेजिनेशन अकॉर्डिंग टू सी राइट मिल्स, it is a way of looking at this social world. It is a way of looking at this social reality. It is a way of looking at various social problems where dear friend, you as an individual are trying to place yourself within a larger social structure. आप वैक्यूम में नहीं रह रहे हैं that you are saying कि ये तो मेरे चॉइस है, ये मेरी चॉइस का मामला है. You are living in a society. And the society in which you have been living, that society has come into existence in this shape as a result of various historical developments. That is the idea of sociological imagination. So, how sociological imagination helps you? देखिए, sociological imagination in simple words ये बता रहा है कि there is a relationship between individual and society influences individual. There are some social forces. There are some social causes. There is a social structure that is continuously influencing you. And the social structure or society or social milieu about which we have been talking, it was not always like that. It has come into existence in this shape as a result of various historical development. ये हम समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. तो यहाँ पर देखिए, sociological imagination is saying that you should go beyond the common sense understanding and it will help you to develop a critical reasoning why it has been happening, if it has been happening in this manner. देखिए, जो चीजें आपको बहुत obvious लग रही हैं, you went to this particular university, your first preference for your college education was this college. Why it happens so? क्या आपका जो क्लास है, क्या आपकी जो रिलीजन है, क्या आपका जो सोशल कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, that is influencing your choice, or it is your own personal choice? So sociological imagination will help us to uncover hidden meaning that there exists some social context, there exists a social milieu, there exists some social forces, currents, they influence your decision making, dear friend. तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि neither the life of an individual, what C. Wright Mills is saying, very important saying, dear friend, neither the life of an individual nor the history of a society can be understood without understanding each other. न तो आपकी लाइफ, नहीं ये हिस्ट्री को आप समझ सकते हैं without understanding each other. Neither the life of an individual, neither the history of a society can be understood without understanding each other. So there is a close relationship between your biography, among biography, social context, and history, dear friend. That is the crux of what? Sociological imagination. Biography means birth, marriage, profession you will go for, death, all these events, dear friend. These events, the way they have been happening, आप किससे मैरिज करेंगे, किससे आप मैरिज नहीं कर सकते, whether it is your personal choice, the way you will perform marriage, how rituals will be performed, all these events, dear friend. So the way you will do your marriage, what kind of the rituals will be performed, all these are not your personal choices, dear friend. Whether you will take divorce or you will not take divorce, as a layman we think ये personal choice का मामला है. It is your personal choice that whether you want to take it or not. Compatibility issue हैं, दोनों एक दूसरे को like नहीं करते, and that's why they are going for divorce. But sociological imagination bring you out of that commonsensical or layman understanding. Sociological imagination, dear friend, it simply tells you why, how, when these things are happening, there are some larger social contexts. There are some larger social contexts. तो देखिए आप क्या पहनेंगे, क्या नहीं पहनेंगे, इसके साथ किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, देखिए ये सब आपकी पर्सनल चॉइस नहीं है. There are some social forces. There are some factors existing outside you, not controlled by you. They decide that what you will do, what you will not do. That is sociological imagination. क्या करना सही है, क्या करना सही नहीं है, dear friend. What kind of the music you will listen. तो देखिए, if you are living in a rural society, perhaps that folk music you like. If you are living in a tribal society, perhaps that tribal music you like. And you are living in modern day post-industrial society, living in Delhi, you belong to high income group, some jazz, some rap, metal, non-metal. So देखिए, all these things you are listening. So देखिए, whether it is your personal choice or there are some social forces that are playing their role, that is the context of sociological imagination. और देखिए, जब मैं आपसे बोलता हूँ कि as an individual you are trying to make a sense of the world around you by placing yourself in this larger social context. एक इंडिविजुअल की तरह से आपके आसपास जो भी हो रहा है उसका एक सेंस बनाने की आप कोशिश कर रहे हैं by keeping yourself within this society or social structure. So this society or social structure that I'm saying, it was not always like same. It has come into existence as a result of various historical events. कैसे? देखिए, समझने की कोशिश करिएगा. For example, communal divide in India. देखिए, not always India was like that. Hindu versus Muslim, this community versus that particular community. It was not always like that. Perhaps at one point of time, Britishers strategically infused this idea of communal divide under their divide and rule in a very systematic manner. So देखिए, the kind of the popularity of English language that you will see today in India or in many third world countries. So देखिए, there were lots of historical forces, historical development that played some important role. That's why in most of these African countries, even after independence, civil wars are going on, ethnic conflicts are taking place, because at one point of time they were made colonies and such a divide was systematically infused in the mind of what? These African people. So देखिए, whatever context in which you have been living, that context is the result of various historical development. Mills का कहना है कि देखिए, पर्सनल इश्यूज आर नॉट पर्सनल इश्यूज. ठीक है, पर्सनल इश्यूज एंड सोशल कॉन्टेक्स्ट, देयर इज अ क्लोज रिलेशनशिप. इंडिविजुअल इन एन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट मैनर, डियर फ्रेंड, इज कनेक्टेड विद सोसाइटी. एंड sociological imagination, it helps you to understand the relationship between individual and society. अगर ये बात समझ में आ रही है तो ज़रूर कमेंट बॉक्स में एक बार हाँ बोलिएगा, डियर फ्रेंड. तो देखिए, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, नाउ आई विल गिव यू नंबर ऑफ एग्जाम्पल, डियर फ्रेंड. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, डिवोर्स. ठीक है, एज अ लेमैन, एज अ कॉमन सेंसिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग, इट सीम्स टू ए पर्सनल इशू. हमें ऐसा लगता है कि एक पर्सनल मामला है between two individuals. They are not compatible with each other. They have some issues with each other, and that's why they are going for divorce. But don't you think it is a fact that earlier divorce rate were very less? पहले भी लोगों के बीच में issues होते होंगे, पहले भी compatibility issues होंगे, आज भी compatibility issues हैं, आज भी like dislike का matter है. But earlier divorce rates were less, but today divorce rates are high. So divorce otherwise which may appear you as a personal problem between two individuals, they might be having some compatibility issue. But in modern society, divorce rates are remarkably increasing, dear friend. And sociological imagination, it helps you to understand that there are some factors, there are some reasons, there are some causes lying outside individual. Kya hai wo causes? Like now, there is more social acceptability of divorce. Now, laws they have become more liberal. Now, in capitalism, you will find they prefer both husband and wife, they must be working. So, they encourage economic independence of women. And if you go through projection of media, they project, even feminists, they project divorce as a symbol of liberation. आप bad relationship में थे. From that you got liberated. So these are certain social causes lying outside individual. And because of that, you will find that nowadays divorce rates are remarkably increasing. तो sociological imagination आपको help कर रहा है समझने में कि ये जो divorce हो रहे हैं, अगर आपके किसी रिलेटिव का, आपके किसी फ्रेंड का डिवोर्स हो रहा है तो आप बहुत दुखी हो जाते हैं. यू स्टार्ट गिविंग हिम और हर नंबर ऑफ एडवाइस. इनफैक्ट यू गिव सच प्रपोजल कि मैं मीडिएट करके देखूं. बट व्हेन यू गो थ्रू सम न्यूज़पेपर report that out of the 100 marriages that are taking place in India as a result of personal choice, 30% of them they are going for divorce within 2 or 3 years. तो देखिए आपको ये समझ में आता है कि there are some larger social forces they are acting, and this individual case it is just a part of what that larger context. In a similar manner, dear friend, marriage as a layman, as a common sensical understanding, it seems to appear a personal choice, personal matter. करना है या नहीं करना है, कब करना है, किससे करना है. But nowadays there is a trend that people are delaying it. People are doing it as a result of their personal choice. Many people they are going for live-in relations. Many people are doing this, whether it is their personal choice or some larger social context. तो देखिए मैरिज एक पर्सनल मामला है, दैट इज डिफरेंट थिंग. इट इज अ लेमैन अंडरस्टैंडिंग. बट टैलकट पार्सन इज सेइंग दैट सोसाइटी इज लाइक अ सिस्टम, एंड जस्ट लाइक अदर सिस्टम, society as a system has its own need, and marriage fulfills one important need of that social system, that is reproduction, bringing next generation. Similarly, Karl Marx, as a sociologist, he is giving an understanding that marriage is essential for inheritance of property. Through marriage, we are able to protect institution of private property. Similarly, feminist scholars are saying that marriage is one such construction of patriarchy. तो देखिए ये जो स्कॉलर्स बता रहे हैं मैरिज के बारे में, they are saying that there are some social need, some social relevance, and because of that, people are marrying, dear friend. Then suicide. As a layman, most of us, in fact, all of us think that suicide is a personal problem. A person who is mentally weak, who is not able to handle everyday anxiety and tension, because of that problem, they commit suicide. It is a personal act. It is a psychic act. But one prominent sociologist, Emil Durkheim, he said that suicide person they don't do because of anxiety or because of life challenges. He collected data in a very systematic manner from various sources, government department. He analyzed that data. And on the basis of collection and analysis of data, Durkheim proved that there are some external forces, and because of that, he is saying that Catholics they commit less suicide as compared to Protestant. Those who are married with children, they commit less suicide as compared to those who are unmarried or married without children. तो ये बताने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं that there are some forces lying outside you. They compel you to commit suicide, dear friend. And here you will find, देखिए आप किस तरह का म्यूजिक प्रिफर करेंगे, ये आपका पर्सनल चॉइस है या द कॉन्टेक्स्ट इन विच यू हैव बीन लिविंग. रूरल सोसाइटी हमने अभी डिस्कस किया, ट्राइबल सोसाइटी और इन एडवांस industrial society, that context many time influence that which kind of the music you will prefer, which kind of the dress. Nowadays very few people they prefer these kind of the dress except on some ceremonial occasion. In metro or any other shopping mall, most of the people will find they are wearing jeans, t-shirt, these things. So it is your personal choice, or you are in trend. Whatever trend is there, you are going with trend. So unemployment and economic structure, ये जो unemployment का problem है, the kind of the mechanization we are going for, the kind of the automation that we are going for. So whether because of that mechanization, automation, problem of unemployment is taking place, or if your brother or your sister is not able to get the job, it is because of their incompetency, they are not getting job, or they have been fired from their job, or because of some structural issues. Companies are going for hiring and firing. So sociological imagination आपको help कर रहा है to analyze that this issue of obesity is not a personal problem. The kind of the advertisements you see in most of the channels, media, social media, magazines, everyone they are saying quick food, 2-minute food, 5-minute food. So such food items, they are being promoted, and because of that, there is a culture among youngsters or otherwise also that they are going for this quick food or junk food or fast food, dear friend. So there are some social causes because of which these things are happening. So देखिए, overall what I want to say that sociological imagination आपको बताने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि there is a close relationship between you, your society and history. So as a sociologist, as a student of sociology, as a social researcher, such imagination, such understanding, such perspective, ये नजरिया, it helps you, ये आपकी मदद करता है to develop some patterns, or it helps you to understand social world around us, that the social world around us, there exists some patterns, there exists some patterns that things are happening in a particular way, dear friend, and it is beyond individual. It is beyond individual. That is the one utility of sociological imagination. But one major limitation of sociological imagination is that it creates an image that as an individual, we are docile, we are passive, we are placed in a social structure, and that social structure determines, directs, decides, designs, controls what you will do and what you will not do. So perhaps one major limitation of sociological imagination is that it ignores individuals' capacity to act independently. It says that there is a close relationship between self and society, and the society in which we have been living, it has come into existence as a result of various social development. So we should try to make sense of world around us, or we should try to make sense of the personal problems or personal challenges while keeping yourself in larger social context. I hope this idea you people would have understood. समझ में आया या नहीं आया? Please tell me in comment box, dear friend. Thank you to all of you for being with me and for staying with me. Thank you, dear friends.